Welcome to Destination Linux, the Dexter's laboratory of open source invention, where every commit is a wild experiment, sparking tech-tastic chaos. I'm your DD this week, Jill, twirling through the Linux lab with my tech-savvy crew, ready to zap proprietary nonsense with a mega laser of code while giggling. Ooh, what does that button do? Ryan is our Dexter, brilliant cybersecurity hardware guru who can hack a firewall faster than he can scream, "Dee, get out of my lab!" Michael is our Mandark, scheming, marketing, and web design maestro, cackling over slick Linux promos while trying to sell you a glowing KDE wallpaper. His mantra? Mahahaha, open source is my cash cow.
What is happening?
I didn't write this, Michael. Jill wrote
You 100% wrote this.
Oh, okay.
This week's experiment, we're dissecting Google's new Pixel device launches, including their Pixel Watch 4 marketing oopsie that flopped harder than Dexter's Robo Hamster in a maze. We're celebrating the Pebble Watch's comeback with its open source PebbleOS revival and throwing a birthday bash for Linux, the OS that powers our lab. Plus, more surprises from the secret vault. So grab your lab goggles, sync your repos, and remember, in open source, we don't just invent the future, we blast proprietary limits to bits. Ooh, let's press that button. This is Destination Linux.
And Jill, there's one more thing, though, because it was last minute. We didn't get to talk about this coming on this show, and that is we have the CEO Sandfly coming on,
Woo-hoo!
and they're going to talk about a truly righteous kernel hack that's going on that, of course. Well, you'll see. Can Sandfly detect it? That's the question. You'll find out in the segment.
Of course it can.
In our community feedback this week, we received feedback from Lewis, who says, Ryan is awesome. But
No,
I truly love the humor from the show.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't say that?
First of all, there's no way it says
Ryan
that.
put that in there.
No, they did say that.
But you also forgot the part where it says, I guess. You forgot that part.
Okay. Let me reread it. Fine.
Okay.
I didn't know we were going to be like, I usually ad lib on these, Michael. I don't read the thing verbatim, but you're going to make
true. That's true.
You're going to make me read it verbatim. I guess we're going to break the rules this time.
We read about 98% accurate usually. That was like 3% off, so we got to fix it.
Here we go. Ryan is awesome, I guess. But I truly love the humor from the show. I just wanted to post a comment about the whole AI discussion about how it can't do more advanced features. The main thing to remember with AI as we know it today, it's only simulated intelligence. What I mean by that is that it's really good at simulating and predicting an answer based on previous inputs. There's also the matter of overtraining it, and then it can provide hallucinated answers because it went down the wrong path with calculating the answer. So with that said, the models we mainly interact with, ChatGPT, Gemini, etc., are actually just really good at text processing and response. If you want something specific like math, you can always use the other models trained on. Wolfram has an assistant trained only on its tools and could potentially in the future answer math questions based on true calculations. Also, 500 plus computers is an impressive number, Jill. That's what they're saying. Keep up the awesome shows. Love to hear you guys weekly. We love hearing from you. Thank you for sending in the awesome email. And I think that's a really good differentiation between what AI we're using today and maybe what's behind the scenes that we don't know exists or doesn't exist. Because I think there's probably way more powerful things out there that we don't get to get our hands on. That may be able to do more than what we see in ChatGPT and stuff.
Yeah. But also, I mean, I still feel like the AI concept is still nowhere near actual AI. So that simulated intelligence thing is a good point. It's really good at predicting what you're wanting it to say and that sort of stuff. But there is an interesting thing about, overtraining it. And that is something that you're inherently going to do if you use one tool all the time. And I've run into that myself because I was just doing some tests, about different tools and different models. And one of the things I noticed is that there is some prompts or some models will allow you to tell it to ignore things. So if you say disregard all other previous mentions or instructions or whatever, some models will actually ignore them. But for me, a ChatGPT would sometimes just completely ignore that request and then reference things that I said, months ago. And it's an interesting situation because there are times where I don't want it to use what it knows about me or the things that I have previously asked because I'm asking something completely different and has no relation to anything else. And then it still starts trying to ask me do I want to do this thing that you did yesterday? No, I don't want to do that. That's the reason I said don't do this. But some of them do actually adhere to it, but for the most part, they don't typically.
Yeah, this is going back to the dead internet theory. My cousin came up; he kept talking about this. I hadn't really heard this theory. Well, I didn't heard the name for the theory, but I understand the idea, which is a conspiracy theory that asserts that around 2016, the internet consists mainly of just bot activity and generated content manipulated by algorithmic creation. And therefore, the internet's dead. All right. And that it's being used, I think the theory part's that's being used to manipulate population stuff, which, there's probably a lot of truth to that. We've seen that with Cambridge Analytica and other stuff. However, I think what's interesting is AI is trained off of the internet. And if it's training off of a lot of bot activity, then it's going to get a lot of mixed messages and there's going to be a lot of hallucinations, meaning if you notice, there's a lot of AI prompts, specifically when you use search engine AI stuff, where the first option is kind of the AI generated answer for your search. A lot of it pulls from Reddit, like a lot of it. And there's a lot of great stuff on Reddit, no doubt. But there's a lot of nonsense too.
There's a lot of garbage on Reddit. Like a lot.
And a lot of opinions. And those opinions aren't always right. Surprise, surprise. So,
if you've ever seen a Reddit thread, there's a lot of mixed opinions.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting when you think about that. A lot of these chatbots are trained on the internet, and that can be good thing when you're looking at certain stack sites for programming code and stuff. You can get some really cool workarounds, unique ways to code, but it's also going to put a lot of garbage in there and things. And so I think it is Louis, really great point that, these models are just really good at predicting and simulating answers based on other inputs that it's, read. It's still very powerful. It's still very cool. But I do agree that these specific models that are made for very specific purposes and trained maybe differently than, say, your standard chat GPT and stuff can be much more effective when it's kind of like a Swiss Army knife versus, I don't know, a machete to get through a forest, right? Swiss Army knife is great. It's got all kinds of tools. So not so great for hacking through a bunch of tall weeds.
In that situation.
Yeah. So, but it's got a lot of other tools. So it's great. ChatGPT is a Swiss Army knife.
I mean, okay. That's a fair analogy. I was just saying Swiss Army knife, I think is a little overrated, but anyway.
Yeah. You don't like Swiss? Do you not have a Swiss Army knife?
I do. I have multiples, but I feel like there's. I
was if you don't have a Swiss Army knife, first of all, I want to make this clear to everyone in the audience. If you don't have a Swiss Army knife, you are not a geek. Do not claim to be a geek anymore. Stop saying if you have geek gear, burn it or order a Swiss Army knife, and then you're allowed to keep it. I guess
you can keep everything you want as long as you have a Swiss Army knife.
If you don't have a Swiss Army knife, you're not a true geek. Watch this. Jill, do you have a Swiss Army knife?
Absolutely, and it's on my it's a keychain Swiss Army knife for when I need to have an emergency tools to get inside computers.
I too keep one in my truck, not on my keychain because mine's heavy and has all of the tech tools. It's the blue one, so I can get into a computer whether I'm mobile or whether I'm at home. I've got some. Michael, do you have a Swiss Army knife?
I do. Yes, I do.
Okay. Good job.
As someone who's not really even a hardware person, I do have a Swiss Army knife, and I think that it is it's important for someone to have it just to have the tools that they may or may not need. I just feel like they're a little overrated because they're not really good at any in particular thing. Like
No, but they're
each tiny
convenient to have
tool.
around when you need
In
the little scissors,
emergency.
the little
I give
clipper
you that.
scissors.
Like
You need
they're fine in that
Yeah.
sense. Like it's better to have it and
Flathead
not have
screwdriver.
nothing, right? It's better to
Phillips
have it and
screwdriver.
nothing. But
Yeah. Now there
you
are
know,
really cheap Swiss Army knives, which
Yeah.
really suck, and their scissors like
And they break.
constantly. Yeah, they break and
Yeah.
they don't work
Yeah.
right.
they just
Then there's the
break when you
expensive
squeeze them the
ones
first time. Yeah.
that have the actual like piston and spring with the scissors, and
Yeah.
then
Those are cool.
yeah, that's when you got that's upping your geek level. That's taking it to the
Yeah.
next level. It's like the whatever name brand stuff crap people wear. It's the
Mhm.
name brand of Swiss Army knife. You know,
I also have a
That.
Swiss Army knife that is like it's not really, I guess it's like in the concept of a Swiss Army knife, but it's not really like designed that way. But it's the same kind of thing of having multiple tools, but it's separated like a butterfly knife style. And inside the middle of it is like a wrench, like a full size wrench.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, not wrench.
Those are cool.
Pliers. It was full size pliers.
Oh yeah, the pliers. That's good.
Yeah.
So we all agree then, if you don't have a Swiss Army knife, you are not a geek.
I guess I guess I'm actually correcting myself in the sense that maybe they're not overrated. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
See?
So, Ryan, I still have my original red Swiss Army knife. It was the first one they specifically made for computers.
So we have our new. That's awesome. It's
Yeah.
specifically made for computers.
Specifically, that was what it was marketing as. And then I also have the credit card one, and those are great because you can pull out all the little parts. Yeah,
those are very, very cool too. We have our new mod community. That was a recommendation from our community to have a mod community where you can show off all the customization stuff you do to Linux. You also are welcome to share your Swiss Army knives there as well. It will be accepted as official geek currency.
Exactly. So it's like a peripheral for being a geek. So you can put it there if you want to, especially if you customize your Swiss Army knife.
Oh, if you have a picture of your custom desktop and on the desk is a Swiss Army knife, super bonus points. Super bonus.
There we go.
Yes.
And if you have a desktop with your the Swiss Army knife laying there and also wallpaper for Destination Linux, I mean, it's just everything.
Text Penguin.
It's
so much fun. Somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. So much bonus points, you know?
So much win.
And also, I was thinking we changed the name. So Ryan made it Ricing Custom something. I was thinking we change it to Rice Fields.
Rice Fields. That sounds terrible.
Because it's rice. It's like where you
cultivating rice fields.
Where you grow rice in a rice field. How about rice patties?
Maybe rice patties. That sounds so much better. Great suggestion, Michael. All right. Thank you, Louis, for sending in your awesome feedback. We've got more AI content to talk to you about. In the next AI content we're going to talk about later in the show, it's crazy what's happening. Crazy. So you guys stay tuned for that. DestinationLinux.net/comments. Send in your comments. DestinationLinux.net/forum if you want to post there instead. Also, we have our Discord room. But if you want to get on the show, DestinationLinux.net/comments or the forum, and you may see your comment on the show. Michael, what we're going to do now is craziness. Wild, stupid craziness. We're just going to
craziness.
We're going to go on the razor's edge. You're going to be like, I'm going to let
Swiss
you
Army
and Jill
racer?
join me on like an arch, feeling like an arch user where you're on the edge. Because we are going to travel from North Korea to Vegas in less than 20 minutes.
Awesome.
Ooh, how are we going to do that?
From North Korea to Vegas. What a random choice of places to travel to. But we're going to do it. And Craig's going to be our pilot. That's Craig from Sandfly. We're going to do it right now. Let's do it.
I am excited to go from North Korea to Las Vegas, figuratively through the stories. Just real quick pro tip: don't go to North Korea.
Probably not a great idea. You wouldn't want to go the other direction. The fact that you're going from North Korea to Vegas means you're escaping back to something normal. Is Vegas normal? Anyways, Craig's our pilot. We're safe. We're good. Let's go.
Today, we're joined by Craig Rowland, the founder and CEO of Sandfly Security, to give us our security scoop. So, Craig, what is the recent security news or stories that are on the top of your mind this week?
Well, I was very lucky that I just got back from Vegas. I was able to go to Black Hat and DEF CON. And I went to a party where I got a hold of one of the print editions of Frack. I know I'm showing it on the screen right now.
Nice.
Your listeners can't see it, but they had a special edition I was able to get. And one of the articles in there was someone hacked into one of the workstations believed to be used by either Chinese or North Korean threat actor. And they basically downloaded their entire hard drive. And then they went through it and basically dumped the entire tools, things, operational information, things they were stealing, certificates, all sorts of stuff. But one of the things that was interesting in it was a dump of a rootkit that targeted Linux. And this rootkit was a full stealth rootkit. And it enabled the attackers basically, once operational, it was a kernel module rootkit. It would hide itself. And then when you sent a secret packet or magic packet to the box, it would then activate a backdoor. And then that backdoor would allow you to run commands on the host, but also to do lateral movement and set up proxies between systems to kind of burrow deeper into the network, again, connecting to other rootkits that might have been installed. So pretty interesting piece of tradecraft that was out there. And we wrote up, but Frack had an awesome article. It's online. You should read it. But we also wrote up a blog post that went into more details about what it was doing and what we were doing in terms of detection of it, because we were able to find it pretty much without any modification, but we went into more details about what you could do if you want to do manual investigation of it.
Very nice. So people who have Sandfly, this would have detected this threat. And that's because it's not specifically looking for signatures, but more so looking for abnormalities, right, that are occurring in your system.
Yeah, the tactics of it. So this rootkit was based on a rootkit framework called K-Hook, or library, I guess I should say. And K-Hook is designed to basically make it very easy to hook kernel functions and intercept them and do things. So in this particular case of this rootkit, it did several kind of traditional classic things, one of which was hide files and directories by intercepting the system calls that you'd use to do ls and basic commands. It would also hide network ports that hit it active. So if you did traditional commands like netstat or ss, it wouldn't show the commands. And then would hide the processes. Now, we've had these detections for these types of tactics in the product for several years. So out of the box, we didn't have to change anything. If we saw this running on the system, you would get alerts that there's directories hidden. We would decloak what they were hiding. We also would show kernel taint, that there was something that was tainting the kernel, a rootkit that was introduced that was unsigned, that would be malicious. And also we would decloak any hidden processes and say, hey, this process or this process ID is actually hiding from you right now. So that was all the basis of this rootkit.
Very interesting. So this creates a persistent backdoor as well. So if it goes undetected, it uses like a magic packet where it just continually creates new ports for itself to connect through. Is that right?
Well, yeah, so you could send packets over, and the Frack article went into it. Now, and this could all be changed by the authors. I'm sure they will update it, but essentially they could send packets over various protocols. I think the basic one here used SSL or TLS, but then once that backdoor is activated, it would work on any port. So meaning like the packet could be sent to port 443, and the backdoor then intercept that packet and then forward the attacker's packets to its backdoor that would operate on another port on the system. So even if you're watching port 443 and you're like, hey, the traffic's encrypted, all's fine. Well, mixed in with that traffic could be this malicious traffic, right? So that's kind of what it did. And once the backdoor activated, it then had a variety of built-in commands the attacker could do that included things, like I said, again, like running commands, executing processes on the host. Also had the ability to, again, forward and connect to other systems with either a SOCKS 5 proxy or their own lateral movement, which would send a magic packet on your behalf to another backdoor in the chain to kind of move itself around. And it had some other interesting things too, such as a feature that, not quite sure what it did, but if you run the backdoor, you could use a time delay on it. This either might be to enable them to not drop packets during a chain, if they're chained together multiple backdoors, or possibly to help with IDS evasion, because a lot of intrusion detection rules will be state-based. So what they'll do is if you just wait a little bit of time, it might lose the state and drop watching that connection, and then it could kind of maybe slow roll through a network and you wouldn't see what was going on. So it had some interesting things with it.
Very interesting. And so one of the things that I think is interesting about this is thinking about the use cases for it. And my understanding is they think that this was initially designed and I use that word initially, and I'll get to that in a second, but initially designed for more government to government activity, right? Trying to maybe spy or do something on other governments. But the one thing I always think about is once these things are in the wild, right? Once we've detected them, we know they're there, then anybody can start using pieces of this and utilizing it to attack anything, right?
Sure. So this particular piece of malware and this group was targeting a lot of South Korean companies, telcos, big industrial concerns over there. Also, probably through the Asia Pac region. But yes, the malware, the full source code is there. It built perfectly fine on I think I did a Ubuntu 25 host. It just kind of built out of the box with a few small modifications. So yeah, I mean, it's basically turnkey, ready to go. Assuming you wanted to go load it on Frack, they link to the Proton drive. You could download the entire data dump. It'll have this rootkit plus other things that they might be doing on Linux-based systems and Windows systems as well. But to your point, yeah, the malware is kind of out there at this point, and anyone could modify it for their purposes.
Now, you guys provided the download link in your article on the Sandfly blog, as I recall, but there's a warning there. If somebody wants to play with this in a safe environment, how would you recommend them do that? Who's maybe not as security expert.
And also for someone named Ryan who puts stuff network traffic on his own network, how would you recommend?
Listen, one time while I was learning, I ran some really deep scans on a ISP and they got mad at me. Yeah, Metasploited my ISP, but it was accident, Greg.
That activity is frowned upon by most. So you could download it. I think the Proton link we got was probably through the Frack social media account, but we do have a link to it as well. So I'm not sure who put it up. I suspect it was Frack running it. It's about 4 gigabytes in size, so it's quite large. It'll have a large variety of things. Look, obviously, if you download the thing and you go clicking around, you want to archive, you go clicking around. Hey, what does this exe do when you're on a Windows box? I mean, you're going to be sorry, right? So, don't be an idiot. That's my advice.
All right. So step one, don't be an idiot. Got it.
Step one, don't be an idiot. Step two, obviously the Linux sources, there's some scripts there. You just want to don't go clicking on things, right? If you want to look at it through an editor, that's fine. I would probably say bring the archive onto a VM that's hopefully not on your internal network, somewhere isolated, and then you can look at it. You'll be all right.
Gotcha. VM.
So go to Starbucks is what you're saying.
Go to Starbucks. Exactly.
Don't be an idiot. Use a VM. Don't click stuff.
There's lots of cheap VMs being sold by some Russian providers. I'm sure you could load it up there.
Oh boy.
They probably have it already. I don't know.
So the great thing is, this thing is detectable now. The bad thing is, as it gets out there, people will modify it, do different things to try to change this. But they've got some very powerful code in the hands of everyone now, because everyone can go look at this stuff. But the good news is now other people, security companies and things, can kind of research this and potentially be able to break it apart some more. But this type of thing is what we kind of talked about last time, that we're going to see a lot more of these government to government attacks or government to business attacks that are very sophisticated, generally heavily funded to produce, getting out into the wild. And once they kind of get executed, they're out there for anybody to start utilizing, manipulating, which makes it very scary, which is why we're very happy that we have Sandfly here helping out on the Linux side. But there's something else we wanted to talk to you about too, and that is you went to DEF CON.
Yay.
And we talked about how jealous we were of that. Now you get to make us more jealous by telling us how awesome it was.
How much we missed.
Yeah. We were able to go to Black Hat. We're running a booth there, and then I stayed on extra days to go to DEF CON. So 109 degrees, August in Vegas, and I mean it was a great conference as usual. A lot of people there, a lot of activity. And I got to meet up with a lot of people in the industry that I know. So it's always good to kind of talk shop and see what's going on. So I think in general, again, great experience. So
any
if you have a chance
days
to go,
get released at DEF CON this year?
I didn't pay too much attention to it this year. So I'm sure there were. I probably should be paying closer attention.
I didn't hear of any this year. I usually hear about it on the news cycle, but there were no 0 days that came up in my cycle.
There could be. The problem with it, and this is why I told people last time, you don't need to bring a burner phone to DEF CON. The problem is some of these 0 days have become so valuable that, why would you give it away for free if you think you could make $500,000 by, doing a bug bounty to a vendor or something, right? So I don't know how many of these 0 days. I think the day of free-flowing 0 days is long past. People are either monetizing them or red teams are keeping them private because they don't want their tradecraft ruined. Because I'll tell you what, the minute a 0 day comes out, we're all over it, right? We're going to find out because we want to find it. So I'm sure a lot of these teams, I think it's harder and harder to see a good release of a 0 day at these conferences.
That makes sense.
At least that's my view. Maybe I'm wrong. Your viewers think I'm wrong. But in general, if you're sitting on a $500,000 lottery ticket, are you going to just hand it out to someone? That's
so my idea of walking around with $100 taped to my suit and be like, this could be yours for a 0 day probably won't work if it's 500,000 for a 0 day.
They might just rip it off. And
Craig, what was the highlight for you at both DEF CON and Black Hat?
A lot of times for me, it's just catching up people face to face. So we live in this virtual world, and it's hard to make, just having that direct connection and seeing people. There's nothing beats it, right? Yeah, you do video calls and stuff, but at the end of the day, I think humans want to be in front of each other, share experiences, and laugh, and kind of exchange information directly. So I think that's a big piece of why these conferences are important. Is you could just meet people there, even if you don't go to the talk. I rarely even go to the talks. I'm usually just meeting people around, just walking around. So I think for me, that's the best part.
The hallway track.
Hallway track.
Yeah.
So meeting people is very cool, but I have to ask, based on the things like CNN and how they present hackers, they're always wearing hoodies and balaclavas or some kind of face mask. How many people were in the hacker garb?
Oh, probably quite a few.
Hacker.
I completely avoid it. I learned a long time ago as a teenager that the more normal you look, the less questions you're asked. Right?
That's true.
Yeah.
Right? And so the more hackery you look, actually, the less of a threat I think you actually are. So, the most normal looking people are by far the scariest in terms of actual skill set. That's my experience. So, I saw a few. Yeah, I saw a few mohawks and a couple hoodies and 109 degrees Vegas or whatever. But
that's what I was thinking. I was like, when I first thought of it, I was like, maybe there's not going to be anybody because you're in Vegas. Why would you be wearing a hoodie? But apparently,
they do. I'll tell you what. At our company, I tell our team like graphics of people with hoodie. Like you're not allowed to post anything with a hoodie or the Matrix. The green matrix text, all that stuff, just totally verboten. Like, do not post anything with that. We don't want to.
I'm very tempted to make the thumbnail of this episode with just you standing normal and we're all wearing the garb.
There we go.
I'm saying,
Michael, we like them. Stop.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've done talks that people have given me hoodies as a speaker gift. I always give them away. I don't even own a hoodie. I don't like long sleeve shirts. So why do I want long sleeve shirts and basically a long sleeve for my head? I just can't do it.
Makes sense. Yeah.
It's kind of very similar to like how they talk about fighters. If you ever, got into an altercation with somebody and they're extremely calm and they're not running their mouth, you should be very afraid. The person who runs around, talking all this stuff, that you generally don't know how to fight.
Yeah.
Kind of that same thing with hacking a little bit. A lot of shoulder.
I'm always calm because I'm such a good fighter.
Yeah, exactly. We all know that. UFC champion of Colgate 1999 backyard fight. Michael won.
Was the prize toothpaste?
Toothpaste. Absolutely. All right.
Is that why it's Colgate?
Colgate 1999 backyard championship, Michael.
So actually, you're confusing with the Aquafresh championship of '98.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
All right. So, look, there's one thing that I've been wanting to talk to you about, Craig, and that is we got a comment the last time we had you on the show, and somebody said, hey, I keep hearing about how great agentless is, but what are the downsides of agentless? Because there's got to be something that's a downside of an agentless platform like Sandfly. And I wanted to pick your brain, let you answer that.
Yeah. So positives and negatives, right? Everything's a trade-off. So the biggest negative with an agentless is we are not on that system full time. So we do not give you a real-time telemetry. So if you absolutely say, I want to see every process that's starting and stopping constantly, we're probably, that's not what we do. The advantage, though, is by giving that up, we have way wider compatibility and visibility, right? Because we're not tied into the kernel and we're not impacting performance and we're not impacting stability. So it just depends what your priorities are. The other thing you run into with an obsession with the real-time telemetry, real-time telemetry is very valuable. I don't want to downplay it, but people can also overuse it or put too much emphasis on it to the point where you're getting completely overwhelmed. So I mean, it's like you want to track every process that starts on Linux. That's great, but how many processes a Linux system may start or stop. And that's cool if you're cleaning up an incident and you want to see exactly what an attacker did and you're reviewing the logs and assuming you have the capability to actually store and use and review all this data, right? There's a lot of other things going on. But a lot of times you can also get in a situation where you just overwhelm your SOC because you're just looking at way too much stuff. So each will have its advantage and disadvantage. The other advantage that we would supply over a real-time system is we tend to supply more context of a full attack chain. And what I mean by that, I always use an example of a log tampering. And I might have used this example before, I don't recall. So if someone tampers with a traditional audit log on Linux, there's some legacy logs, for instance, called wtemp and utemp. And newer ones, they've replaced it, but let's just talk the legacy ones. So a real-time system may say someone opened this log file and they read it and they wrote something and then they closed it. And that's fine, but Linux logs and files get open and read and written to all the time, right? This is not a unique thing. So what we do instead is we would look at it and we're like, entry number 16 has been overwritten with nulls to hide that they were present. So this is a lot different view because we're saying this is a definite sign of a log tampering, where a real-time system may just show, general traces of something might happen. You completely ignore it. The type of thing we would find would be more confirmation of the attack. Or in the case of this North Korean rootkit, for instance, you might not even be able to get a system. They're targeting embedded devices and routers and all sorts of stuff where you can't even get an agent running. But we could go in and immediately decloak the entire chain to say, there's something on this box, the kernel's tainted, these are the 6 files that we know are hiding from you right now. And oh, by the way, there's also a process that's hidden itself. So I think it just depends what you want to do. We get used alongside real-time systems, real-time agents, that's fine, we work fine. But if you can't get an agent, we're also a really great idea because your other options do nothing. And doing nothing is a bad idea on Linux.
Yeah, that's the worst idea for sure. No, that's a brilliant answer and appreciate that so much. And thank you so much for always being willing to come on here and talk about this stuff. I find it absolutely fascinating. And I think we're going to see more and more, as I mentioned. I hope we don't, but we're going to see more and more of these type of things there.
Yeah, we actually had Craig on last time and thinking like, how soon for the next one? Well, next episode. That's when the next one comes out.
Honestly, I have Craig on every week at this point because every week there's something
a new report dropped today about a system report from multiple governments about assault typhoon attacks going against routing infrastructure at Cisco and Juniper and all sorts of other stuff. So we could talk about this next week as well. We watch that device. We watch those devices as well. So we are joking about it that we're just going to use the Chinese SSH backdoor they left behind so we can log into the box. So. half joking. Maybe it's not a full joke.
Yeah. Half joking. Yeah, might be a great way to get in. That's fantastic. Well, thank you again for coming on the show. It's always great to have you. We'll have you on real soon again. And for those who are now thinking, hey, I need to do something, go check out Sandfly by going to destinationlinux.net/Sandfly. And Craig, you're still making available to our listeners 50% off the home edition out there.
That's right. Yeah, if we have a home edition, if you just want to try it out, very affordable, but it's even more affordable if you put in the code Destination50 at checkout. It'll be $50 a year for 10 hosts. So it's great for home lab.
Brilliant. Absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Craig. We'll see you back real soon.
Right. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I've got good news for everyone here who likes calculator watches.
Yes.
Who
Casio.
Do you like calculator watch, Jill? Did you have a calculator watch?
Absolutely. I had several.
I had a calculator watch too. Michael?
When I was like a 12 or something like that. Yeah.
Did you have one?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Oh, good.
That's awesome. So everyone likes calculator watches, and well, it's not quite the calculator watch, but just as cool and niche. It's the Pebble watch is back, baby.
Woohoo.
Pebble. Nice.
So,
and it's not even just in like, in spirit. It's back officially. It's really like the Pebble name, the Pebble software, like everything is back.
Official. So Pebble was it pioneered this whole e-paper smartwatch kind of setup back in the day before smartwatches were what they are now. It started via Kickstarter in 2012, sold over 2 million units. And then Fitbit went and bought it in 2016. And then Fitbit was bought by Google. And then in January 2025, Google did something kind of cool here. They open sourced Pebble OS. So
that part was cool. Yeah. So when Fitbit bought Pebble, everybody was like, well, I guess that's not that bad because it's a combination that kind of makes sense. Fitbit plus watch. And then Google bought Fitbit. You're like, oh, man.
Yeah.
That did not work out very well for anybody. But they redeemed themselves by open sourcing Pebble OS recently. So it only took a few years, but it happened. So that's important.
And even Eric more recently.
Oh, go ahead, Jill. Go for it.
And even more recently, they got the trademark for the name.
It's a very important part of it, right?
Yes.
So they Google open sourced it. Then Eric Majowski, I think I'm probably slaughtering the name. Sorry if so.
I'm going to attempt it, and I'm probably going to butcher it as well. Michikowski.
That sounds way better than what I said. Wendy, go ahead and edit it. So I said it. Put Michael saying Michikowski over my voice saying
but you just
whatever
said it,
I said.
But you just said it.
Oh, okay.
So she could just like revert
just use that. Yeah. Because Wendy's totally going to take the time to do this.
What if
it's not going to be raw like it is right now and just running? She wouldn't.
She would never do that to us. What if she was to take that and combine when you said it, I said it, and Jill said it into a harmonic convergence?
Into.
All right, so we got new models of Pebble watches. The Core 2 Duo, inspired by the Pebble 2, features modern chips, heart rate sensor, step and sleep tracking, and a 30-day battery life, priced at $129. The only thing that comes even close is a Garmin watch. Garmin's get weeks of, I don't know if they get quite 30 days. I don't think so. I think the most I've gotten is like 2 weeks, 14 days.
I think it's 2 weeks.
Yeah, off of my Garmin. Core Time 2, also based on the unreleased 2016 Pebble Time 2.
Well, they changed it so the Core 2 Duo became the Prime 2, the Pebble 2 Duo, and the Core Time 2 became the Pebble Time 2, and all that. So, and also they spent a very important note in when they announced that they got the brand back. They noticed that they answered the very important question: did Intel scream at them for calling it Core 2 Duo first? They did not, apparently. So that's good.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you can head to their site, store.repebble, repebble.com.
Actually, I don't know if Repebble. So, like, here's the thing. This is a very confusing situation with their websites and their things because, like, the only time I could find it was on because I think Repebble is a third-party thing, and then only time I found it was through his website. So I'm not sure if that is it, but.
I mean, in the FAQ, it sounds like it's coming from Eric himself because it's like, is this a Kickstarter? And he's like, no, I've personally funded the development of these on that Repebble page. And I think it's Repebble because it's relaunching the Pebble.
Okay, the reason I was wondering is because they said Repebble before they had the name, so I was just worried about like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if it is, great.
But the Pebble Time 2, by the way, has the 1.5-inch 64-color e-paper screen, touchscreen, metal frame, heart rate sensor, and it's $225. They're IPX8 water resistant, both models, 10,000 watch faces and apps, step and sleep tracking, microphone and speaker. These are cool. Like, you're not going to get all the features that you get on a Garmin or a Apple Watch or any of those things. What you do get is a very unique watch that not a lot of people will have. It has tons of battery life and has some of the basic features that you're looking for. However, for people like me, like to do fitness tracking, that type of thing, this probably wouldn't work as a daily driver for me, but it's still super cool. And not everybody needs all that stuff that I like to have. And at least has the heart rate monitor and stuff for the Pebble Time too, which I think that's probably more worthwhile to invest in that. Because there's a lot of safety features, I think, in having a heart rate monitor regularly. Like, it's good to be checking that stuff on a regular basis for general health and stuff. So this is very cool. I like the concept. But we got that, Google doing some good things. But Google also launched their own new devices this week. We got, of course, the Pixel 4 launched. Now, this one includes AI features, Michael.
You're talking about the Pixel Watch 4.
Pixel Watch 4, yeah.
Yeah, but you said Pixel 4, so just to clarify for everybody who's listening, Pixel Watch 4.
Just launched the Pixel Phone 4.
The Pixel Phone 4. Exactly. But the Pixel Watch 4 has AI, which no one asked for.
Yeah.
And
especially
and it's coming cheap too, except not really.
Some of actually the price of the watches is not bad. 41 millimeter at $349 for Wi-Fi, $449 for LTE. A little more money for the 45 millimeter, so you do get multiple options there if you want one of those watches.
Well, I'm talking about the price of everything you ever do is being sent through their AI and all that stuff.
Oh, that price, yeah. So what's interesting is they have the circular screen, and when me and Michael were looking at this last week, Michael being a marketer and all, I generally do not look at I don't pay much attention to the pictures that people utilize for products and stuff. I'm just looking for the overall information.
It's also usually like the most optimal way you can imagine looking at something when they do products like stuff like that.
Yeah. But we kind of had a little bit of a laugh, Michael, when we looked at their pictures.
This was not optimal.
Because what did they, how would you explain what they did in their pictures for their watch?
So if you ever watched like an old timey TV situation where the majority of what you see a restoration, you'll notice that the restoration has like extra content of that data because they were stretching it out and over scanning the content so they would fit on the whatever old technology you had, like the tube TV style and stuff like that. And now when people don't even worry about overscan because everyone hates it and it's always turned off for most of the time. Not everybody hates it, I guess, for some reason. But with this new Pixel Watch 4 with AI features, it also includes the ability to cut off content of the screen for no reason. So there's text that's going across the bottom, and it's a circular interface, a circular device. So you'd imagine that they would create the interface to compensate and adjust for that. But that is not what happens. So your notifications are at the bottom, and they just cut off towards the edges because that is attention
until you
to detail.
Scroll up,
yeah,
right, and then you give it more space in the middle where it can expand out. But the problem is in their actual picture showing the watch, you're seeing the text cut off. And I actually picked up on it like, that doesn't look good. And if I pick up on that it doesn't look good, you done messed up.
Michael,
Yeah.
I don't pay attention to that crap.
I mean,
So.
Ryan was okay with the default XFCE.
Yeah.
That's the comparison.
Because you know what? The text wasn't cut off now, was it?
That's true.
You know?
It wasn't.
The text was just fine in default XFCE. So, by the way, I think this kind of goes with a lot of Google products. Is they're kind of half baked a lot of times, and you could tell that I don't know that the people who work on it actually use the stuff. That's what it kind of reminds me of. Or there's not a lot of quality control in that essence. Now the hardware is good. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the software, like customizing the software for that specific device that they launched. They kind of just like, hey, we made this really cool piece of hardware. Oh, look, we load our software on it. But to Michael's point, they don't try to customize anything so that it specifically works really well in that form factor, like you see with an Apple device typically, although Apple's been falling off the bandwagon a lot with that too. But typical Apple, you could tell that the software was specifically modified to work perfectly on that specific device, whereas Google just is like, we have software that does text message stuff, just load it on that thing and see what happens.
I mean, with Android, you can still say that they're not putting in that much effort because it's been a mess for like every single, like every year there's always like some kind of weird wonkiness that they output,
No,
so
my personal opinion is every watch, and I'm not talking about the Pebble watch because that's kind of a different thing, but every watch from Samsung, the Pixel Watch, and Apple Watch are all garbage compared to the Garmin. Specifically because Garmin has all the great features of EKG, heart rate monitoring, all of that cool stuff. And it has a built-in fitness tracking system where I can track reps, I can track strength, and I get 2 weeks of battery life from the same watch. You cannot get say that about any of these watches from Samsung, Apple, or Google. So in my opinion, I wouldn't buy any of them.
So with the Apple Watch that I have, you can track steps, you can track heart rate, you can track other things, and you get 18 hours of battery life. So I mean, like, they're close, right?
2 weeks, 18 hours. And then you can't track reps, you can't track sets, and I
said steps and sets, and steps are the words are close,
The words are close. So I would recommend the Garmin watch personally, but
I don't actually have a Garmin, so I can't recommend it. But I would also say, like, look around.
Yeah, look around. But this new one comes with heart rate, ECG. This is new Google Pixel, blood oxygen. Again, Garmin has all that. Skin temperature, stress score, loss of pulse detection, which is cool. So this one will automatically, if it loses pulse for a certain amount of time, call the emergency line. I love those kind of features.
That is very cool. But how does it know when you take it off, or if you're just like, what if you're like, because for me,
they know. They know when you put it on and it has skin contact, because every time you take your watch off and put it back on, it'll have you do your passcode. Like, it knows.
That part. But I'm saying, like, in terms of like the whole the signal when they send out the stuff, because I'll take off the watch a little bit just to scratch my arm where it's sitting the whole day.
Yeah.
So like,
probably
is there
when you take it off a little
time,
bit,
maybe
be like, beep beep. Hey, Michael, are you dead? Beep beep. Michael, you dead? Michael, hey, this is Google AI.
You dead? You dead?
You dead?
You just
no?
Tap me to tell me you're not dead. Okay, great. I think that
cool.
that wouldn't get annoying. No.
And then the Gemini hallucinates. So you are dead? Calling authorities. No, don't call authorities. Yes, I'll call them right away. Yeah, that's how it'll work. Something like that.
Oh, cool. Boy.
Okay, maybe that's not a great feature. Recycled aluminum, that's good. IP68 dust, water resistant, 5 ATM water rating, and then charging, of course. Okay, so Pixel's in the news, though, because they also launched new phones, Michael. They have the new Fold, and it's supposed to be very impressive, very thin. By the way, I have held the new Samsung Fold 7. I believe it's the Fold 7. And it is rare these days, especially, that I hold technology and go, oh my gosh, this is actually something revolutionary and new. And the Fold 7 did that to me. It is so thin. It is thinner than an iPhone folded, thinner. It is lighter than an iPhone folded. At least it feels that way, because if it's not, actually, I didn't actually look at the specs, but I was holding both phones. And when you unfold it, the beautiful AMOLED screen just like punches you in the face. It's so colorful. And the cameras that they put in are the ultra cameras. So you no longer have to get a Fold and be like, oh, I got these garbage cameras that come with it, because a lot of the Folds had really bad cameras. Samsung has done something spectacular with their hardware. Their privacy policy, however,
too bad their software is trash.
That's a whole nother story. Worst privacy policy in the entire industry, by far. If you ever want good reading for a weekend, because long weekend.
If you want a horror story to read to your kids,
read Samsung's privacy policy and cringe. Just cringe, because it's everything you wouldn't want to see in a privacy policy and more. But anyway,
and they're really happy to tell you about all the stuff.
Their hardware is, Michael, spectacular. I highly recommend people take a trip to a hardware store where they have phones just to hold a Samsung Fold. And then the edge is even lighter. Oh, we're supposed to be talking about Google. Okay, so Google launched some stuff too. They've got the Google Pixel 10 and the Pixel 10 Pro XL. The only difference between the two is the XL has, I think, a 50 megapixel wide camera, additional lens, and also has a bigger screen. But otherwise, it's same processor, same RAM, same everything else. So they have those out there. But Google also announced something else that they're going to require apps to be signed with cryptographic keys via the Play Store to verify authenticity and reduce malware. So essentially restricting sideloading and unsigned apps. So this is really, I'd love to get the community's take on this as well. This is a really interesting thing. The Play Store has been plagued with the fact that a lot of people can upload malware or, things like that. This is a different example, but like the extension we talked about last week, they can just take screenshots randomly. They can upload
that
apps.
was the Chrome store.
Yeah, that was a Chrome store. They
Google
can do devious things, right? In a Play Store, though, they can do similar things where they can make an app do devious things or request access to stuff it shouldn't have access to, like a map app that wants access to all your photos or whatever. There's a lot of problems with the Google Play Store. Now, they've done a lot to try to clean that up over the years because it was kind of the wild, wild west. It's gotten better. Apple obviously has much more control over their Apple Store with their closed ecosystem, right? Which is both something we don't like, but also something that helps Apple when it comes to the security of their store. So Google's going more Apple here and basically saying, hey, if you want to have an app run on a Google Android device, it has to be signed. And that includes sideloading. So this is going to majorly impact things like F-Droid, because F-Droid apps are going to have to be signed for them to essentially work, as I understand this. Now, things like Graphene OS is saying this isn't going to affect them since it doesn't include Google mobile services. So they're saying those Google apps can be installed on Graphene OS only as regular sandbox apps, which can't block installing apps. Play Protect already has malware blocking, and this is likely an extension of it. So, Michael, I don't know if you can explain that in human words, but that was Graphene OS's official response on X, was that this wouldn't be a huge impact to them. There are other things that are going to impact them that Google's doing, but this isn't one of them.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting because they're saying that some of these apps don't. Some of these apps will require the Play services, and some of them necessarily don't. But for things that don't require the mobile service, that it can just, even if it does, they can kind of isolate it in a similar style that the Flatpaks do, where they have them in their own little containerized structure, and we're able to lock it down. But that also means you're not going to get certain features that are dependent on these APIs.
Because it's well known that like certain banking apps and things do not work on Graphene OS. You cannot get them to work.
That's
so if you
because
rely
they
on
require
a
access to some banking apps require access to Google's integrity API, and if you don't have that, it won't run. So in those cases, it would require the Play services to function.
So Graphene OS itself is not necessarily impacted, but the apps you would use on Graphene OS will be impacted.
Yeah, it feels like their response is, well, technically it doesn't impact us, but in the that kind of thing. That's what it kind of feels like.
What you say about Graphene OS, because they're very aggressive on X. They're very aggressive in their responses, Michael. Do we want to pick a battle? I mean, no, we don't. We don't.
I mean, we don't pick battles with anybody, really.
No,
we're not interested in that sort. Yeah, we're the podcast you go to listen to and actually like it. So, all
right, let me pick this battle because Michael and Jill are that way, but I'm not. So here's the thing.
That's true based on a previous episode. So that's
Graphene OS. I love their product, and I've said this before.
Yeah,
I've said this before. I think some of the greatest code writers and one of the most important projects out there from a privacy standpoint, do not take away from the incredibleness that is Graphene OS. It is so important to have something like that out there that makes Android on par, and in some cases superior to even Apple when it comes to privacy. By the way, those are Graphene OS's, a lot of those are their own words mixed in when they were comparing themselves to other devices. Sometimes really brilliant people are not really good at managing social media.
Yes,
and Graphene OS,
this is an example.
This week, again, I should say, is having a battle with this other company. And they're all just throwing all this mud at each other. And it's all public. And Graphene OS has a lot of things to say about a lot of other different projects. And some of the stuff they're saying has some validity and truth to it. Some of it's a little bit exaggerated, in my personal opinion, like some of their attacks against EOS and some of their attacks against Fairphone. But they need to stop. They need to get a social media person, because brainiac people, really smart people, and there's no doubt in my mind the Graphene OS people are some of the most intelligent programmers. They are not always the best at doing the other thing, which is a completely different skill set, which is social media management.
Marketing in general is a completely different type of thing.
I feel like I handled that well, Michael. I wasn't ugly. I wasn't super ugly face. Jill, I was using the tracker, and I felt like that was more like a Jill response. Could I give myself a check mark there?
I mean, like 35% Jill response.
35%? I'll take it.
Yeah.
It's better than the 0% Jill I was previous week, so I'll take it.
I mean, that is better. Hold on, real quick. Jill, you're muted. There we go. Right. Now I go back.
It happens. Yeah. All right. So I feel like I'm doing better. Jill, would you rate my response like 35% Jill, 45% Jill? How good was my
Okay, now you're being too nice to yourself. 45%.
Let Jill answer. Shut up, Michael. Quit interrupting her. It's rude.
I'll say 32%.
I got let? Wow.
I was
Never mind, Michael. Jill, anytime you want. Interrupt Jill anytime you want going forward, Michael. Anytime you want.
Appreciate it. But I do agree with what you're saying in terms of like if you're going to talk about a competitor, you want to talk about like how your service or your product is better and that sort of thing. That's totally fine as long as it's legitimate, claims. But there's also like
there's ways you say it.
The
like
drama.
You could say, I think our product probably does a little better than this one because we do this, versus saying blah, blah, blah is trash. Not saying they said that, but I'm giving two very parallel examples.
There's been examples over the years that Graphene has not done, has been involved in some drama. Like that's definitely, I've seen that myself. But it's really just, if you want to have if you want to have that kind of, there are some companies that get away with the toxicity, but they're doing it in a funny way. And in that sense that they kind of get away with it. But in terms of like just, calling out people and just having battles on social media, there's usually no winner in that.
Yeah, it just doesn't look good. And I think Graphene OS has a real possibility, and they may already have some of this, but expanding even their corporate interests. Like a lot of people are really worried about a lot of things that are happening from a privacy standpoint. Graphene OS is a great alternative. They also have some really exciting news. Like they're working, they won't tell us which one yet, but they're working with another OEM. So we'll have something outside of Pixel that potentially in the future you could install Graphene OS on. It should be a Fairphone, but we know where they went with that one. So maybe you never know. It could be a surprise to all of us. It could come back around.
It would be cool. It would be cool.
In any case, I just wanted to make that point that Graphene OS also has some really super smart educational posts that I love. Like they teach me stuff all the time. And they also reinforce the fact that I was correct about Android and iPhone the entire time. So you're welcome.
What about that? Can't just say that
a lot of people in the community are like, oh, you can take a regular Android and make it more private than an iOS. And Graphene OS themselves are like, look, you could do Graphene OS or you could do Apple, but you're not going to make an Android device as private as an iPhone. So like that's essentially what I've been saying and got a lot of flack for. Kind of like the AMD days when everyone's like, AMD will never be as big as Intel. And then I was right with that one too. I don't want to brag, but that's 2 for me, 0 for all you Cheeto fingers. So that's all because
okay.
That's not Jill. Hold on, let me mark that I messed up.
You've now gone to you've dropped at least 12%. Yeah.
All right. Moving on. They did, however, Michael, I will give them this. There are certain times when it's okay to attack. like what I just did. But specifically, the Librem 5. They went after Librem.
Oh,
and
that is 100%
that's fine.
deserved. Yeah.
Yes. You're
I
allowed
mean,
to do that.
they're talking about like the hardware claims and the other. I mean, just the stuff, like pretty much anything that the Librem 5 claims.
Every
is
once
ridiculous.
in a while, you're allowed to kind of have a gripe and put that out there public. But
Yeah.
honestly, truly, I mean this. Graphene OS, you should get a social media manager. Maybe someone will even volunteer for it. I think it's very important. I think there's a lot of commercial application possibilities for Graphene OS, but commercial companies may look at some of the posts and stuff and not want to get involved in the drama or the tea. Is that what kids say these days? Tea? They don't want the tea. So, anyways, Joe, I don't know if you know this, but I have a birthday coming up soon.
Yes,
and
you do.
I hear that you wrote an entire article about my birthday. So let's hear it.
Aww. Happy birthday, Ryan.
Oh, that's so sweet. That's what it was all about, right?
No, actually, there's something else that's very, very special. And that is close to your birthday.
I mean, there's something that is special, not something else.
So on Monday, August 25th, our favorite open source operating system, Linux, turned 34 years old.
Me too.
And you're older. You're older.
No,
Ryan.
Me too. 34. Both of us. Wow.
What are the odds?
Cool.
Yes. So it was on August 25th, 1991, when 21-year-old Finnish student Linus Benedict Torvalds made his now famous announcement on the comp.os.minix newsgroup that he's working on a free operating system for 386, 486 AT clones just as a hobby. So Linus wrote, "Hello, everybody out there using Minix. I'm doing a free operating system, just a hobby, won't be big and professional like GNU for 386, 486 AT clones. This has been brewing since April and is starting to get ready. I'd like any feedback on things people like, dislike in Minix, as my OS resembles it somewhat. Same physical layout of the file system due to practical reasons, among other things. Linus."
I wonder if Linus, if anybody's asked him, they probably have asked him this, but I wonder if Linus is just regrets the first message he put out for this. Like, is there anything in here you would have changed, kind of thing?
Yeah, it's so perfect.
It's his snarky sense of humor. Yeah. It's so simple. And, as many of us Linux users know, including me and Michael and Ryan, the rest is history. Today, Linux is almost everywhere. In fact, it helped start this podcast.
It is everywhere. See, Linux is.
Me and Michael both have our Linux is everywhere shirts on
my shirt.
Yeah, Ryan's it got too much damage in the wash.
Use invisible ink pen to reveal it. It's really cool.
Yeah. So it is used, in our smartphones, our Wi-Fi routers, our smart assistants, our satellites, big screen TVs, and airplanes. And Linux runs the entire internet and powers the top 500 supercomputers, and is also used by Wall Street and the ISS, or the International Space Station. It may not be the year of the Linux desktop, but our Linux penguins rule the world nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. And also, Linux desktop is growing exponentially.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We're
Thank you,
even
Microsoft.
Thanks for making Windows Recall. That's very, very much. We're also getting a bunch of AI slop that are like, I tried this distro, you should use this, and it's just ridiculous nonsense AI garbage. And that's a sign of progress.
We've made it.
Yeah.
We have AI garbage.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and Microsoft is also, with Windows 11, deprecating a lot of people's computers, and those computers will run using Linux. So
that is true.
So much. And so celebrating Linux's 34th birthday actually makes me feel really old. LOL. But I am proud to be part of its journey. So my Linux journey started, I had downloaded and experimented with the early versions of Linux floating around the BBS systems back in the day. But getting Slackware Linux installed with 24 3.5-inch floppy disks in 1993 was really the start of my Linux journey. and not blowing up my CRT in the process with the XF86 config file. That was a thing. And Slackware Linux, because it was my first Linux distro, it has a very special place in my heart. And I actually still have my original install of Slackware on one of my 486s. And a few weeks ago, I recently fired it up, and it still boots and runs great. And I've just kept that distro on that computer. It's just a part of my computer museum.
Sometimes, Jill, sometimes you say things, and I'm like, there's no way Jill could get more cool. Like, it's just not possible. And then all of a sudden, like, Jill has 600 computers.
Yeah.
Jill has used everything. Jill knows everyone.
Jill has a DOS Geek t-shirt.
I mean,
yes.
Whatever. But
and a backpack and a hat.
She does have a Ryan is okay, I guess t-shirt, and that means that's good.
Awesomeness. Yeah.
But and then all of a sudden she just kind of like casually drops. So, the first one I ever used, I still have the machine, and it still works, and it still has the same ends. Like, I never would have thought to do that. And I wish I had Jill's brain to remember all these things.
Aw, thank you, Michael and Ryan. And by the way, what was your guys' first Linux distro?
So I like this story because, as you guys know, real quick, I started a YouTube channel. I used Windows. Somehow stumbled upon Linux from a security because I was investigating security, and somebody in the comments was like, I was showing people how to secure Windows, and they're like, if you like security and privacy, you should check out Linux. I believe the distro was either Wonix or Tails. I think it was Tails that they recommended to me to try first. And I think that would technically, my first distro was Tails, thanks to a commenter on a YouTuber who had like no views at the time, like near zero, somehow got the attention and the hug of death from the Linux community, and the rest is history. But I believe Tails is what kicked it all off.
Nice.
With that really nice Windows XP theme.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I forgot what they called it, but the one that's like pretends to be Windows kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, the first one I officially used for a long time was, of course, Ubuntu. So
nice.
Yep.
So,
Sweet.
I remember that. And the first time I met you was on was Destination Linux. We actually met on the show, which is pretty cool. And after
we almost fought, like our egos were just like, almost had a street fight.
I mean, to be fair, we almost fight every episode.
Yeah, what's new?
So
it's never changed. It's to this day.
We are still. I mean, we're super consistent. You can't say anything about that, But when we first met, he mentioned that I went back and watched the stuff and then looked at the comments, and there's just a plethora of the videos like. You if you care about Linux or you care about security, you shouldn't even be using Windows. And then they're listing off the stuff. But then he does the 30-day challenge that never stopped.
Yeah,
which is
30-day challenge that's still going.
Awesome.
Yeah,
5 years later.
Exactly. That's the power of Linux is that you do a challenge and you just
get the hug of death.
And Linux wins. Yeah, that's the challenge.
I had no choice at that point. They were my only fans. How could I go back to Windows? Like. I could.
You did it for the views. I get it.
Did it for the views, man. Oh my gosh. That reminds me. The kids these days, Michael, one of their things they say is my kids was like, oh, we don't say something's cool or it slaps anymore. We say something like, hey, chat, this is cool, right? So they use as if they're live they're live streaming to say something like, hey, chat, isn't this awesome? Hey, chat, great. W's in the chat if this is great. But they're just, oh my gosh. Brain rot is a real thing.
Yeah, that's a confusing thing to do. But I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, kids are cute.
So, Michael, what was your first distro?
So
Windows,
I actually
still on it to this day.
Never.
WSL.
I did actually recently get a new laptop, and I wanted to test Windows on it, and but just because I haven't used it for like a decade, and I'm so infuriated by the process of just booting up Windows for the first time. It took like 2 or 3 hours, and it had constant like upselling, trying to advertise stuff to me. And it's like, oh my God, this is just infuriating.
You want Office?
So,
are you sure you don't want Office? Want OneNote? Want our chat? Want our this? Want Teams?
Yeah. So if I ever get rid of the laptop, I kept the drive because I feel like that's a good tip for people who, if you want to replace it, you can swap out the drive. And some people still want Windows to be like if you try to sell it third party or secondary.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I finished the install, took that drive immediately out, and put in another one to put Linux on. But anyway, so.
Answer the question. What was your first distro? God.
I am saying it. Don't be rushing.
Bury the lead.
Don't rush me. So I actually can't remember exactly which one was first, but I'm pretty sure it was Red Hat Linux. It might have been Debian, but I'm pretty sure it was Red Hat Linux. And the reason is because when I was a kid, about 13, I think, I saw a episode of the Screensavers on ZDTV.
Awesome. Yes.
And for those who don't know, ZDTV eventually became Tech TV and then G4 TV and then canceled. Yes. It was a very sad day for me.
Canceled TV? I'll have to check that out.
The whole network was canceled. It was unfortunate.
And Leah Laporte is still around doing Tech TV. Yeah. Yay!
Yeah. Doing This Week in Tech. But
This Week in Tech.
But I was very sad when it went away. But it reminded me of the original time because it was like a segment on the Screensavers where Linus Torvalds was there and was promoting Linux, and he was showing off Red Hat Linux and explaining it and all that sort of stuff. And this is how you were truly, you're truly a Linux nerd, is when you see a segment about the thing and then you can't get it because one, it's you have dial up, it's still the 90s, and you can't go buy it because you're a kid and your parents, you tell your parents, hey, I want to put this new operating system on the computer. And they go, no, not a chance. Then you wait for like 6 months or so until your friend gets broadband so that you can go in, or cable for those who go and down, so you can go and download the ISO so you can play with it on a machine. That's when you know you're dedicated. When you wait for 6 months just to try it for the first time. And that's what I did, and I'm pretty sure it was Red Hat Linux because of the segment, but I don't remember if it was actually the first one I tried because I downloaded Debian and Red Hat Linux, and then eventually my main distro that I stuck with was Mandrake. Because Mandrake.
Chat, what do you think about Michael's story? W's in the chat if you like it, L's in the chat if you don't.
Tons of W's, love it, perfect. So that's. I'm glad you asked the chat because that way we know for sure that it was a good story.
Speaking of, we allow our patrons to come and watch this show live, and we have our patron chat right now not going because we forgot to bring them on again, Michael.
We forgot. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Sometimes we don't not do it on purpose. We sometimes just forget to go into the room.
We could go in there right now. We're going to do it right now, so they'll still get part of the show.
I feel like there's only 3 minutes left of the show.
Yeah.
No, because I have more to bring up here, Michael. As soon as Jill's done with her story.
Okay.
Jill.
Okay.
What else you got for us?
And speaking of installing Linux on floppy disks, one of the oldest drivers on Linux, the floppy disk driver, just got a patch update.
Yes.
This makes me so very happy. And I squeed with joy because honestly, I had thought maybe it would be deprecated. And it isn't. Right. They just updated it. And
if they deprecated, I'm done with Linux. Let me tell you.
And just in time for Linux's 34th birthday, I still have to be able to access my passwords on my floppy disk. So
unhackable.
That's true.
So the floppy disk driver has been largely unmaintained for nearly 3 years and is considered orphaned. And like I was saying, I thought
that's the best part.
Deprecated.
Is that it's been orphaned for 3 years.
3 years.
Not a decade?
Yeah.
2 decades?
Not a decade, just 3 years. So the patches were posted by Andy Shevchenko of Intel and includes removing an unused macro and sorting headers alphabetically and quite a few other important changes. But I want to thank Eris for sharing this exciting floppy disk news with me on our Destination Linux Discord chat. Thank you, Eris, for bringing this to my attention. And yes, it does make me squee. And because I love floppy disks, I still run Linux off floppy disks.
What I love is if the FBI ever raided Jill's house and they're like, we need to get all of the computer evidence we can. They would take these little disk things and throw them to the side and be like, no, we're looking for at least CDs. They wouldn't even know what.
I feel like what would happen if the FBI went to Jill's house, they would see the smorgasbord, the plethora of these computers, and they would just be like, too much paperwork, never mind.
Never mind. Yeah. Whatever it is, not worth it.
Oh, so make sure to check out Destination Linux episode number 275, where I talk about the history and my love of floppy disks with visuals on Jill's treasure hunt. There's even a computer in there too, and it might be a 486.
Jill, people have been asking about another treasure hunt. Do you think we could do another one soon?
Yeah. I actually have some ideas. Yeah.
Okay, we got another treasure hunt.
Whoa. Soon. We're on episode 434. For those who don't know, we're on episode 434. And Jill only has 700 computers to pick from.
Yeah.
So what could possibly be left?
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is the news that I forgot to cover, Michael. I buried the lead when I said at the beginning of the show we would talk about some AI things, and we talked about the Pixel phones, but we talked about
we were just talking about the
AI
Pixel Watch.
But we didn't talk about the new Magic Cue that comes with the new Google phone. That's the big change that they have. Let me explain to you the awesomeness of this. Imagine you go online and you make a reservation at a very fancy restaurant. For you, that would be like Wendy's. And so you got your Wendy's reservation.
Come on. Applebee's.
Okay. You got your Applebee's reservation and for two. And you
appreciate there's someone coming.
Well, I think you're just being hopeful, but whatever. So you make your reservation and it emails you confirmation of your reservation. So you like, I want to prove to Ryan that I have a friend. And so I'm like, hey, Ryan, I'm going to Applebee's at 5:00 tonight. And Magic Cue will be like, hey, it'll pull from your email and say, do you want to go ahead and send him this reservation we found in your email? And you can be like, yeah, this will show him. And you send it.
I'd be like, no, because this is for my girlfriend. Why would I tell him about it?
and then Magic Cue goes, you don't really have a girlfriend, Michael. Let's stop pretending. Like that's okay. Anyways, so the point is that
what is the point of this?
The point is that now you have a new AI-powered capabilities that can suggest helpful information right as you need it. Like if they say, do you have the address for tonight? It'll automatically know that you went on Google Maps and looked at the address to Applebee's, and it will populate a little message. You want to send them this address? And it's going to save you so much time, Michael. Think about it.
Yeah, that sounds amazingly invasive to my privacy.
Oh, so you picked up on that. Huh?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
It's basically saying they're going to. My favorite thing about this is that it completely reverts the promise that they made before, which is also hilarious in the first place. Because their whole, we know Google has been, notorious for abandoning the idea of don't be evil. That's a thing that they did years and years. Yeah, it's basically ancient history at this point, and every single day is another day farther away from that mantra. But this one is that back in, I think it was maybe it was 10 years ago at this point, but I feel like it maybe not as far. But Google announced that Gmail would no longer be tracking your email, and they would no longer be reading your email, which is just them admitting for a decade, which they claimed they never did in the first place, but then they're admitting it, that they are tracking and reading your email for a decade. So now this new AI tool is reverting the promise that they're not going to read your email, and they're actually pretending that it's good for you, that they're doing
They're saying it's processed locally on the device, which we know the marketing company, also known as Google, has never lied about not tracking you when you turn off location services and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
I totally trust.
It's not like there's literally documents and articles proving that they had purposefully ignored requests of you turning things. Oh, wait, there is those things. I forgot about that. There is those things.
So if you trust Google, probably
Actually,
don't listen to this show.
If you trust Google, how?
If you trust Google, I have some ocean property to sell you as well that for a really good price.
In
Hit me up
Wyoming.
about it. In Wyoming. There are some cool things that they're doing, and this is going to be the battle that we're all going to have to face. Is some of this stuff is super cool. Real-time call translation in people's natural voices. So if we speak different languages, Michael, it's gonna translate your voice back to me, but in your voice, in my language. And so things like that are like, that's Star Trek translator cool stuff.
It is very cool and still
super
creepy.
Awesome.
And a little creepy.
A little creepy, but super awesome.
It is better than YouTube, where you go to if you listen to the audio versions of this show or other videos where they have like the different voice dubbed things, it does not sound like you in any way whatsoever. Like it's completely wrong.
Well, okay, but it also has a feature where you can like tell your phone, hold it up and say, "What am I looking at?" And it will tell you what you're looking at. So Linus, Tech Tips, he has the device already, of course. And so he has a watch on and he points it at his watch and he says, "What kind of watch am I wearing? Give me a link to the store to buy it." And it tells him what the watch is. The first time it was wrong. So he says, "No, you got it wrong. Try again." And then he showed more of the watch. And the second time it got it wrong. But it says it with such authority. And then he's like, "No, that's not it either. Let me do it again." And then it guessed another watch, which was also wrong. And so the point is, Michael, this stuff sounds really cool, but doesn't seem like it's all that reliable yet. But it will get better. You know, this stuff will get better. But there's some cool things. The translate, I think, is really cool. I like the idea.
But here's the thing. The translate is cool. But when you compare it to everything else that they're showing, as a translating the language, we have no idea. If you have insert a random language and then take what you say in English and converts it, you have no idea. So
if it's doing it correctly,
this hallucination of not knowing what a watch is by looking at it, even though they claim they can do that, and then claiming they can change the language to us, whatever. Like, what are the odds that you'll say something that's just benign and then it's translated to someone that you wanted to talk to and it's incredibly vulgar? I mean, who knows? Because we don't know.
Hey, I made a reservation for Applebee's and it translates, "Hey, I just wanted you to know I eat fleas." And they're like, "Wow, okay, I'm going to hang up now."
Okay. So I don't think that the other language would rhyme with what you're talking about.
How do you know? You don't know.
I don't know. It depends. I guess it depends on the language. Maybe.
You don't know nothing.
But let us know. Let us know if you have a language that you can translate that will end up sounding like fleas in terms of Applebee's. So
we'd love to know. I want to know. Can't wait to hear that one.
Send us a comment. That's I
just wanted to make sure. I wanted to make sure people knew about the AI thing because this is the battle I'm saying that we're going to have. Is there's going to be really cool features that come out with AI. It's going to come at the cost of your privacy. We're going to have to decide to weigh those two things, or we actually have a company that we trust does on-device only AI processing that we can use, which I think is going to be a very important thing for privacy because these tools are going to get so good. You're going to be left behind, I think, within 10 years if you don't have access or utilizing them in some way.
The local only thing I do think is important. If they bring local only, I think that the AI value can be absolutely worth it. It's when they send the data out to the cloud, that's when I'm not on board. But in terms of like the features that can come, and some of these are actually kind of cool if they worked. There is one thing that I think is really cool, and I would prefer it to be on a local thing too. But if you're traveling and you're at a different location, like has different languages. So I went to Europe for the Ubuntu Summit a couple of years ago, and there was a lot of signs in different languages, but you could put your phone up and then look at the camera, and you could translate for you through the camera.
Yeah,
that is a very cool feature.
I love that feature. We used that. Yeah. We took my daughter to a claw. I guess a claw vending machine store. It's all claw vending machines and it's like wall to wall. And we came back with bags of stuff, but a lot of them had tags that were in Korean and other things.
Korean,
and so my
Chinese.
daughter was like, "What are these?" So we were just sitting there translating the text. So cool. Like you could never do that in the past. You'd have no idea that it says like you stink or whatever. But they didn't say that. They were all happy things. But my point is, we wouldn't know, but now we do. And it's such a cool feature. It's a really good point, Michael. Like, I don't want to lose these features, but we have to have a company we trust is going to do actual on hardware AI. Like a company like that does hardware like Fairphone, or a company like Frameworks, when they release their phone frameworks, they've been wanting you to release forever frameworks. That would be nice too. Something like that, something like that.
So when you ask someone to do something, it's probably not the best to yell at them.
Oh, okay. Please, Frameworks, Fairphone.
I like how you exact same volume and the same cadence, but you added please to it, so it's okay.
I'm being nicer. Yeah.
And make sure to say it correctly. Framework computer.
Framework computer. Thank you, Jill. But my point is, those two companies are examples of companies I would totally trust to have on hardware AI and keep it on hardware AI. So companies like that, that's who I want to invest in this world. All right, Jill, software pick, because we are so far over, it's ridiculous.
Yes, we are. So sometimes the best apps are the simplest ideas. There are a lot of people with no or limited access to the internet, which is so sad. So any application that can bring important educational information offline is very welcome. That's why our pick this week is Wordbook. Wordbook is an offline English to English dictionary application powered by WordNet and eSpeak. And some of the features are it is fully offline after the initial download. It has pronunciations, random word, favorites, history, double click to search, which is really easy to use, and of course, dark mode, which makes us all happy.
Done. I think this app is great for all the reasons you described, but also because I found a whole plethora of new words to describe Michael. I found words like dunderhead, harebrain, lunkbrain, nincompoop, and simpleton, which all perfectly describe my friend Michael.
Aw, bad Ryan. Remember our software pick 2 weeks ago called Table Habit?
I have it up right here.
Where you need to say a positive affirmation about Michael each day and track your progress. Well, I'm holding you to that, Ryan, and you are failing big time.
Okay, but I said my friend. That was nice.
Yeah, I was about to say you need a thesaurus for
nice.
You need a thesaurus that'll give you a different
canceled
word
each
for
other
friend.
out.
Yeah,
I called him a dunderhead, harebrain, lunkbrain, nincompoop, simpleton. But I also said friend.
That doesn't count because you have 5 examples of negative and only 1 friend part.
Are they negative?
Yeah.
That you're a harebrain?
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure if a harebrain is necessarily a bad thing. Lunk brain sounds like a bad thing, so I'm not really sure what lunk really
Nincompoop is not nice.
Yeah, that's the one I got dinged on from Jill. It was the
that's gotta be it.
That's the one that really hurt Michael too, deeply.
But the harebrain could be good because I'm fast as a hare, I don't know.
And you actually have hair, so there's that.
That's true. I do.
Yeah. All right. A big thank you to each and every one of you for supporting us by watching or listening. However you do it, we love your faces. Come join us in our Discord room at tuxdigital.com/Discord, where you can provide more words that can describe Michael there in the chat in our Discord. Also, we have our customs room now where you can show off your Swiss Army knife and your totally customized desktops and terminals and all of that cool stuff. We've got already so many cool things in that chat right now. So go check that, including my official wallpaper is in there. So if you want to be more like me, and why wouldn't you want to be, you can get my official wallpaper right there in the Discord. And it's incredible. It's incredible.
Is it just Batman?
Yes, it's just Batman.
Yes.
So also, yes, you need to go check out the Discord server and check out that room if you want to share some stuff. Also, there's a really fun setup that someone had. It's really hard to choose sides, and they had a wallpaper that was split in the middle between a muffin and a cupcake, and it was just such good art, such good. So if you want to check it out, tuxdigital.com/Discord. And also, if you want to check out the patron only section of our Discord server, you can do that by becoming a patron by going to tuxdigital.com/membership. You get access to that plus tons of other stuff, including live watching of this show sometimes. and then also access to unedited episodes of the show most of the time. And the fact that we said that in unison, it's crazy. And you get a bunch of other perks too by going to tuxedos.com/membership. Of course, you're getting to support the show, which is the main reason you'd want to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And also, if you want to support the show, you can go to the store, tuxedos.com/store. And you get a bunch of cool stuff. We have hats, mugs, hoodies, and so much more. tuxedos.com/store.
Actually, if you also want to support the show, go to destinationlinux.net/Sandfly and check out the home edition. Get 50% off by using Destination 50. Or if you're a business, you need to be on Sandfly. Go check that out. That helps support the show a huge, huge amount there.
Yeah. And make sure to check out all the cool shows here on Tux Digital. We have an entire network of shows to fill your whole week with geeky goodness. Head to tuxdigital.com to keep those Linux penguins marching. And everybody, remember to push that Linux button. Have a great week. And remember that the journey itself is just as important as the destination.
Jill, your intro was perfection, but also when you were doing the, I need to push that button. Yeah. I was like, I really feel like that's you. I really feel like if there was a button in a room and no instructions, you would eventually push that button.
Yeah.
Am I right?
I guess it depends on the button. So Jill, if the button was just a random black button somewhere, would that make you... Actually, I guess the big question is there's 3 buttons. There's a random black button, then there's a big red button, and then there's on the little corner is a nice little pink button.
I would push the pink one.
There we go.
Okay, so the pink one you push and confetti falls. Are you satisfied, or do you now feel the need to push the other buttons?
No, that's fine with me. That makes me happy.
I know Ryan wants to put...
That's where we differ. I'd be jamming on all of them. I'm like, I don't know what this is doing. This is cool. I'm going to jam all of them.
Exactly. Well, thanks for jamming with us, everybody. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.